From the Wall Street Journal, Saudi Arabia considers accepting yuan instead of dollars for Chinese oil sales. Talks between Riyadh and Beijing have accelerated as the Saudi unhappiness grows with Washington. Now, there's two big points to make here. First, some people are screaming, it's fake news, don't believe it. And there's some reporting coming out saying it's not true, it's not true, it's not going to happen. However, what we do know, as I mentioned in the previous segment, even Trevor Noah criticized Joe Biden because Saudi Arabia refused to take his call. We also know they invited Xi Jinping to the country. At the same time, we're hearing reports that they're considering trading oil in yuan. What this will do is it's going to strengthen Chinese currency and their government and their economy substantially. It's going to send signals to everybody that if Saudi Arabia does this, because they trade exclusively in US dollars, that it's good for you to have yuan because you can buy oil with it now. Exactly. That is the first, chipping away of U.S. global dominance in terms of the petrodollar, the reserve currency. And what Americans need to understand is that a large portion of the wealth we have comes from the fact that we are the progenitors of reserve currency around the world. If that ends, we have very little to offer everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about how much the value of our dollar is boosted by the fact that everybody has to purchase U.S. dollars if they want to buy oil from Saudi Arabia.
I think
it's not just Saudi Arabia too.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
80% of the oil market.
I think of Saudi as like the nozzle on the hose, like the garden nozzle that you squeeze to squirt it. And we are the hose. We're producing the fluid that's coming through this hose. But if Saudi wants to twist shut, we have no more way to get that oil out to the world. If they don't want to sell it in U.S. dollars, that's like the tip of the spear.
So does this also make inflation much worse if we printed all this money and now all these foreign governments are no longer possessing it?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if they start dumping it, then we're going to have dollar bills in the streets being shoveled into the gutter.
And I just don't understand how people could be too shocked that we printed, 80% of the dollars in existence over the past 2 years or something along those lines, or in circulation?
Yeah,
in circulation. I mean, of course, we're just going to be inching towards losing our status as world reserve currency. Why would anyone be willing to depend on our currency?
Well, this is why the White House is so desperate. They called in the TikTokers to lie to young people.
They're going to fix
also,
it.
it's not our currency. The U.S. dollar is Federal Reserve currency. It's a private company. We don't have the Congress doesn't control it anymore.
What bothers me the most about what the White House did with these TikTokers, it's basically just like spitting on these kids. Like kids who are finally asking, why is my gas $7 in LA? That's one thing that this young woman said. She was like, we want to know why gas around the corner is $7 a gallon. It's because of Putin. And I'm like, it's not. It's literally not because of, ask yourself why California has $7 a gallon and you go to Arizona or Colorado, it's $4.
But that's the oldest mind control game in the book is you need a common enemy when things are tough. You need a distraction and you get everyone worked up and now we're in war mode and we've got an enemy, so we're all going to come together.
Dude, after 9/11, it was the craziest mass formation psychosis. People wanted to blood. They wanted to be in the Middle East. And then they're like, and Iraq. And they're like, yeah, whatever, man. I'm hungry. Feed me.
Look at what they're doing with Ukraine now. There's a comic mocking leftists. And I'm seeing leftists post it. So I'm actually good. Where it's like Russia says, there's weapons of mass destruction. And they're like, oh, okay, we're okay with that now. Like the United States invaded Iraq because of weapons of mass destruction. Putin's got weapons of mass destruction. We're going to invade Russia? No, of course not, because Russia's actually a threat to us. The issue is you have all these leftists who pretended to be anti-war, who said war is bad, and now that Ukraine is all in the press and all in the media, they're all waving the flag saying we got to do something.
And they also impeached Trump for suggesting essentially that Biden had some oddly close relationship with Ukraine, and sure enough, it's seeming like he does.
I think it's undisputed that his son was on the board of Burisma.
Well, that is undisputed.
Yeah, it's indisputable. For sure, Biden is interwoven in that Ukrainian
Right,
mess.
but he was trying to claim it's no big deal. That's just my son. I don't know. He's clearly obsessed with Ukraine and has been for years. And that was kind of at the heart of, the impeachment is Trump was kind of right. Why are you into Ukraine so much, dude? It really doesn't have anything to do with us.
I'm just asking, do you think it was that he just wants the land mass to move oil, or is there something more? I mean, this is just a wild, I don't know if you have the answer to this, but what do you think it is? Why Biden has been obsessed with Ukraine for so long?
Oh, I have no clue other than, I mean, we know that obviously his son has a lot of money ties there, but I have no clue.
Oh, boy.
It's like the breadbasket of
I was
Europe.
just walking over to grab their water, but come on, Ian.
Either Russia...
We talk about this
cover
enough.
this all the time.
It's either Russia or Europe wants that Ukrainian breadbasket. They want to feed their country.
That's not it.
About 20% of natural gas, I believe, goes through Ukraine from the company Gazprom, which Russia controls. This allows Russia to control prices and make them very, very high. So what we end up seeing in Europe is energy prices are pretty high. What happened when France tried putting a small petrol tax on the people for climate change reasons? So they claimed climate change. People rioted for a year and a half. So the U.S. and Western interests destabilize the Middle East, which Syria. Somehow we start seeing Western resources like Mike's Plumbing end up in the hands of jihadis.
Oh yeah.
U.S. support for rebels, the U.S. allies supporting ISIS, and it was destabilizing Assad. Very, very convenient for us because we wanted to get rid of him so we could build our pipeline to offset the gas monopoly. Then you get, Trump comes in. Trump flattens ISIS. Russia's like, okay, good. My ally is secure. Trump was doing things that was ending war. It's a good thing. ISIS is bad. Got rid of it. This de-escalated tensions between Russia and the West. That's a good thing. Joe Biden gets in, and what happens? Immediately, you start seeing activity in Syria again. One of the first things we saw under Biden, and everyone talked about it, was we're hearing reports that U.S. troops were now moving back into Syria. Of course, that's going to make Putin very angry because Syria is an ally, and Russia has a military base, a naval base in Tartus. So now U.S. troops going back in was once again aggressing upon Russia and its interests. Then you go to Ukraine. The West starts pushing again. And then Russia says, okay, we're done. We're not doing this.
I'm looking at Gazprom. First time I've really looked into Gazprom.
Yeah, it's not like they control literally all of the gas.
It's 120 billion in sales in 2019. They said it was rated the largest publicly listed natural gas company in the world and the largest company in Russia by revenue.
That's right.
The largest Russian company. So Biden was trying to get the oil away from Gazprom and start taking it
Compete with it.
with a different company. Is that Burisma?
It may have been Burisma. Burisma was an energy company. Just so happens that I think there was a CIA director on the board. There was Hunter Biden on the board getting paid $83,000.
Well, that's some deep state.
No, these are just corrupt people, man.
They're getting administrative bureaucrats on the board of a Ukrainian gas company.
It's as corrupt as they come. But the simple picture is the United States and the West were interested in destroying the nations of Syria and Ukraine to save money on gas.